I've made many portraits in almost any medium now, digitally, with watercolors, colored pencils and so on. But no matter which medium you choose, it's mostly the same steps when you want to make a portrait. And I get so many messages of people trying to understand on how to paint portraits, but even if they pick the exact colors from the reference, it still doesn't look really good. And if that's something you struggle with, or if your portraits usually look like this, well, then you need to learn how to make portraits from the very beginning. Hi guys, my name's So close! And today I'm showing you all of these steps on how to make a portrait. Sketching a face, how to actually proceed when painting a portrait. I'll give you some exercises on how to learn all of this. There's gonna be a walkthrough on how I start with my portraits. And I'll give you some tips at the end on which mistakes you are likely making and you should avoid. Don't worry, you'll be able to follow this tutorial digitally and traditionally, but it would be helpful to know what you guys prefer, just so that I know what to focus on in the future. Digital or traditional coloring. So let's start with drawing the portrait like a sir. Okay, I'll rip off the band-aid right away if you want to draw a portrait like this, but your sketch before coloring has this kind of vibe. Well, that's what you need to work on first and foremost before even thinking about coloring. Your faces need to have at least some kind of 3D feeling to it, just so that it doesn't look flat. This is what you don't have with drawings like these, and barely any amount of color is going to fix that later on. So here's how you get faces to look more 3D. You gotta make sure that the features of your face, like the eyes, noses, etc., actually look like 3D figures in a 3D space. That's also what I talked about in my book. 2D shapes for 2D faces and 3D shapes make for 3D faces. And that's exactly what you want here. You can learn these shapes pretty easily as well. There are techniques like the Loomis method that you might have heard about, which make for perfectly measured 3D faces. These methods also show you what shapes these facial features have as well. I'm just gonna assume that you're able to draw at least a decent face already. After all, this video is about painting, not drawing. But if that's not the case, I've made a whole tutorial on the Loomis method with all the guidelines you would need and how it works from different angles. So check out that video for a whole crash course if you still struggle with that. But if that method's too complicated or it's just not your vibe, you don't have to learn a new technique. The most important thing is that when you draw a nose, for example, it looks like an actual 3D object and not some flat 2D drawing. But if that's not your problem here, we can jump over to the painting process already. Now here's mistake number one when it comes to painting portraits: using a soft brush. You're banned from using a perfect soft brush when drawing digitally. That's literally the worst thing that you could do as a beginner. I mean, just think about it. Artists in real life also don't have a perfect soft brush. They also just use simple strokes for their art and block in the color piece by piece. And you're probably too insecure to paint with actual harder brushes, but I'll show you how this works in a minute. But this is not the answer. Soft means insecure. And I'm really trying not to make some sort of dick joke here. So yeah, most artists usually block the color in piece by piece. Doesn't matter if you work on a tablet or with a traditional medium.
But why are they painting like this? Painting like you do in anime is so much easier. With anime, you just have your base and then you add some shadow. Painting like that is way easier.
Anime is a very simplified version of real life. You usually just have your base color and your shadow color. And it's a very common misconception to think that an actual human in real life also only has one color in their skin, but that's not true at all. Pretty much every centimeter of a human face has a different color. It's not as simple as having just one base color and just one shadow color. So yeah, you wouldn't paint like you do with anime because anime just isn't real life. Sorry to tell you, it's totally fine to have a base color just for reference if you prefer that. Just don't forget that you still have to overpaint basically all of it later on. Letting your base color shine through everywhere is a really bad idea in this case. TLDR, there's a reason why artists use a different technique with portraits. Now, let's continue and watch the next VHS.
What's a VHS?
Shut up! This one's my favorite.
Hello sir, are you perchance animating YouTube videos right now? Yeah? In that case, you might want to check out Skillshare. It is an online learning platform with thousands of classes. I know that. I've used Skillshare several times now. I've watched a lot of classes by Jake Barley and Kurzgesagt. They are industry professionals, so I literally learned animating by the best creators there are. Anyway, how did you get into my house? But in case you out there don't care much about video editing, Skillshare obviously has classes about basically everything, be it photography, painting and art, animation, writing classes for your own stories, and so much more. And it is free for 1 month, if you are quick. The first 500 people to click the link in the info box and join Skillshare will get a free month of Skillshare. So be quick, click the link, because it also supports this channel. Can you please go now? Anyway, click the link, click the link!
I think I want to go home now. If you've never painted like this before, this obviously looks hard, but here's an easy way to get used to blocking in color. For example, lots of guidebooks suggest to draw really simple objects in order to get used to this workflow. Some courses and workshops teach this with really rough wood carvings of fruit, and I think that's probably the best way to make everyone understand this. Like, it doesn't matter if you're working digitally or traditionally, this is such a good practice, because if you're not able to paint something like the simplified version of a fruit, how do you want to be able to paint something as complex as a human face, right? Now, if you want to try the easiest version of this practice at home, I did link a very simple 3D version of an Apu in the info box, and it's a good way to get started. But if you're a bit more of an advanced artist, I think you're better off just learning from real life instead. Anyway, if you're able to understand how a simple object and its planes interact with light and shadow, you'll see that faces follow the very same logic. Okay, but how do you know how big these planes are and how many of them are in your face and where are they exactly? That's also where the person from the beginning screwed up. Just randomly placing these blocks is not a good idea. And that's exactly why I told you that your face needs to have these 3D looking features and building blocks, because now this will get infinitely easier, since it's just gonna be like paint by numbers. You now have your template with all of these 3D objects, and now you just need to apply your knowledge that you've practiced with painting fruits to faces. If this is still hard to grasp for you though, don't worry. There are a lot of good simulations for this on the internet that make these planes a bit easier for you to understand. There are different methods for these, like the Loomis planes or Asaro planes, and so on. I've made my research and I did pick a couple of them out for you to use. The only thing I would really appreciate here would be a like on this video. Just writing this video took me ages, and by leaving a like, you would be a big help in supporting my videos. Anyway, if you want to take a look, I made sure to link all of these 3D models down in the info box for you guys to use. And now, after all of that, I think it may help you if I showed you a little walkthrough on how I blocked out a face with color. Random side facts, I sometimes listen to Vsauce videos while I paint, so I'll just take Michael's face as an example. I think it's easy enough in shape so that you will understand what I'm doing here. Now, at first I wanted to show you guys how I make this artwork completely traditionally, but then I realized that most of you guys probably don't use gouache at home, so yeah, let's just do it on my tablet then. That's also way simpler for me to record and make a time-lapse out of. I'm starting off with a really quick sketch here. This isn't Loomis or anything, it's just a quick sketch so that I can start painting ASAP. Now, if you've always wondered why artists use a gray or colored background when painting, there are two reasons for this. Firstly, when painting, it's really helpful to have this kind of underpainting. That way the skin color doesn't look so dark in contrast. You know how the skin color always looks too dark at first, but then it looks too light when you're done? That's mostly due to the very harsh contrast on the white background. This phenomenon is called color context, and I explained it in my color theory video. So this underpainting really helps you to judge the colors better. And the second reason is mostly because I record these videos in the middle of the night and I don't want to have to stare at my screen and get flashbanged into oblivion. Now, like I said before, if you really struggle here, you could just try to use a template like the Asaro one or the Loomis one and apply it to your sketch. That's a really good way to practice this, but to be honest, that's not really how I do it most of the times. So here's how I do it. This can be pretty overwhelming at first, so I often look for really easy shaped landmarks, like this Rembrandt triangle here. That's easy enough. Filling out the color on where his glasses are should also be pretty easy, and this is where your knowledge of faces comes in. If you have practiced with a simplified face with planes, you probably noticed at some point how the eye has a very special shape to it. This view is super helpful for landmarks like noses, mouths and so on, so that's obviously how I'm approaching the eye here as well. Okay, now the left side of his face is darker, the shadow reaches across his cheekbone, so that's also not much of a problem. And yeah, that's how I'm tackling the rest of his face, step by step. Now, something that I noticed is that the studio where the reference photo was taken seems to have yellowish light, because the highlights get more and more yellow. Just look at the left side and the right side. It really does get more and more yellowish the brighter it gets. These are little things that vary on a case-by-case basis, but they are very important to make the artwork look more believable. At this point, I also noticed how the nose receives some purple-ish bounce light from the left. And you should always keep these little things in mind. Your observation is your most important skill here. But yeah, that's how I block in the basic colors for this portrait. I'm not amazing at this, there's probably still a lot of room for improvement, but I think it's fine for a quick block in. And when you're done blocking in, that's the point where you may pick a brush that's a bit softer. Not a soft brush, I said a brush that's a bit softer. And then you can paint some softer transitions between these blocks. For that, you can just take these colors, shift them a bit towards the lighter color, and then paint some transitions. And yes, before someone asks, you don't need any specific brush. Just take any brush that kind of looks like this. I've just used the basic brush set of my app and it worked out great. Don't stress yourself over having a specific brush. Now, if you would like to know which tablet or which app or which softwares I use, you might want to take a look on my website. I have an art supply list where I list all of that stuff, so you don't have to ask which brands or which exact art supplies I use. Now, obviously, there are still gonna be a lot of you guys that try all of this at home and you're gonna have a really hard time still. So let's get into the problems that you might face here. These will be mainly with values and yeah, you thought I forgot about that joke, huh? The biggest rookie mistake with skin color is usually not shifting the okay, I'll stop now. Like I said before, it's not like anime, where your skin just gets darker and brighter and that's it. Because that's how you get results like these, and they are not very lifelike. Instead of only just changing the brightness, you also have to change the hue. That's literally what I said before, how Michael's face also got more yellow when it got brighter. So it's also the hue that changes in pretty much any artwork. This can get pretty complex, so I thought about making a dedicated video on skin coloration very soon. I even sketched out a rough thumbnail for that video, so definitely let me know if you need more videos on coloring like this, or if my upcoming videos should revolve more around the topic of drawing instead of painting. Also, subscribe so you won't miss them. Now, there's also the opposite problem. Your drawing might look like this. So you did well in shifting the hue, but your brightness, aka your values, are completely off. I actually think values can be the hardest thing sometimes. There are a lot of artists who sketch out the whole artwork in black and white first, because values are so important, and then they apply color. Because they want to make sure that the shadows are dark enough and their highlights have the correct brightness. You can always check your values by just switching to black and white, and you can tell how some spots still go not dark enough, even though I used the correct sorry. If you want to know more about all of this, like how lighting in the scene works or how to use color in a much better way, I actually did make more videos about color theory. I explained a lot of things there that are also going to be super helpful when it comes to painting portraits, so definitely give them a shot. So thank you guys for watching, thank you for allowing me to make this kind of videos by supporting me on Patreon, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.